The Pixel People Pod. Zap, 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 it's on. Rewind the future fraud. The Pixel People Pod.
So I told Joe Rogan, no, I won't say you this podcast for me. Oh, we're on the air. Okay, hey, it's Greg, and say hello, Jan.
Hello, Jan.
And you're up for another exciting edition of the Pixel People Pod. This week, before we get into our other stuff, I will tell you the name of this week and the theme and the plans with it. This week's episode is called Top Guns, the highest grossing films of the 1980s. We're doing the 12 highest grossing films of the 1980s and get a little bit of information about it, how much they made, a little story behind each one. We picked 12 because we're breaking this up into two parts. Tonight will be 12 to 7, or 12 to 6. No, 12 to 7? Yeah. 12 to 6.
Greg can't math very
12
well.
to 7. 12. Tonight is episode. I ain't cutting this out. Tonight is 12 to 7, and then Thanksgiving night, the part 2 will drop, and it'll be 6 to 1. And I guarantee you,
I like those odds.
yeah, everybody will know these movies. Even though 2 of these movies I've never watched, but I know about them. I know enough about them where I can comment on them and run a podcast on them. I was going to name it the Spielberg and Lucas Monopoly of the 80s box office, but that's too long. But just to give a little idea of why I would name it that, out of the 12 movies, Spielberg and George Lucas had something to do with 7 of them. Spielberg, on his own, was 7 of them. He either directed or produced 7 of these movies out of the top 12. So that guy, those 2 guys, and then Robert Zemeckis has 3. He directed 3. Those 3 men put together a lot of movies and
They dominated the 80s.
Yeah, and they put a lot of stuff on the silver screen. That will be what this episode's about. But first, we have our segment.
Here we go. Jan's Knowledge News. Jan's Knowledge News.
Hit us with that news, Jan.
Today being November 20th, 1983, the day after premiered on ABC.
Well, I remember that movie.
It was a made-for-TV film. It depicted what would happen if a nuclear war happened between the U.S. and the Soviet Union.
That's the movie that scared the hell out of everyone. As a kid, I don't think my parents let me watch it, but the thought of that and hearing about it, it was scary. We lived under the specter of we were all going to die from nuclear war.
Oh, yeah.
That or a tornado was going to take us out of school while we were hunched under our desk or out in the hallway with our heads tucked between our knees.
It had over 100 million viewers.
How come I never hear that when it comes to top television shows of the 80s and stuff? They always talk about MASH, but maybe they do, and I just don't think of that one. But that's a lot of people. Considering the number one TV shows out now, maybe pull 5-6 million, and that did 100? Wow.
100 million viewers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
November 20th, 1980, Daffy Duck's Thanks for Giving special premiered on CBS.
Daffy Duck. I like the Looney Tunes. That was Looney Tunes, right? Daffy Duck?
Daffy Duck's Looney Tunes,
Yeah.
yep.
I was more of a Looney Tune guy than Disney, so I'm sure I watched that.
November 20th, 1981, AC/DC's For Those About to Rock, We Salute You released.
That was their follow-up to Back in Black, and it sold millions, but it was like a letdown because Back in Black's like a machine.
You can't top Back in
Yeah.
Black.
That band, well, I'm sure we'll talk about them one day. We'll do an episode just on AC/DC 80s, but you could not do what they did now, which is put out Highway to Hell, which was a killer, no filler album, and that put them up there like right at the top near of hard rock bands. Then their singer dies, and they immediately flip with someone unknown and put out Back in Black.
You think Angus and Malcolm can't be top,
Yeah,
but then they get a new lead singer.
yeah, and
And-
do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, they do it again.
Bigger than ever. I mean, Van Halen did it, but Sammy Hagar was known. He had hit records. He had million-selling albums with Montrose and solo. So putting him in there was like putting a star already in there. Brian Johnson was in a band called Geordie, and if you look him up sometime, if somebody's bored, look up Brian Johnson Geordie and look at his band before AC/DC. He did not sing like he does in AC/DC. He looked like himself, but he did not sing like that. He changed his singing style for AC/DC.
November 20th, 1981, Don't Go Into the Woods was released.
Was that a movie?
Yeah, did you watch that one?
No.
I didn't think so.
The only horror movie I watched in the 80s was Dark Night of the Scarecrow. If you go back a couple episodes, you can hear me talk about it.
It follows 4 campers confronted by a murderous woodsman slaying hikers on a wooded mountainside. Doesn't sound like
Have you
anything that
seen
you
it?
would watch. If I did, I don't remember
Yeah.
it. It was actually banned in the UK.
Everything's banned in the UK. That's why we kicked our butts to start this country.
November 20th, 1981, The Clash, This Is Radio Clash was
Yeah, it's
released.
a big record. I'm not a huge Clash fan, but I respect them.
November 20th, 1981, the number one song, Olivia Newton-John, Physical.
Yep. That was huge. That song was huge.
I still walk around the house singing that song.
Yeah. It was a good video, too.
Oh, yes. It
If
really
that video
was.
would come around about 2 or 3 years later, it'd been a really good video. But I was only like 9 then. I didn't appreciate it like I would have a couple years later. But yeah.
Young Greg didn't
Yes.
appreciate it quite
No.
as much as teenage Greg would.
Yes. But that song was big. You know, that's one that we probably should have stuck on, like you said, on the list to let Janlin and Chris debate over. But we'll do that another time.
November 20th, 1982, just months after the blockbuster movie E.T. was released, 7-year-old Drew Barrymore hosted Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Her parents didn't do her any favors. She was a great kid actor, and I'm glad she's come through all that. But, you know, she was doing cocaine as a small kid. She was pushed into the limelight too much. I feel bad for her co-stars.
But
in
she was
E.T.,
so
though.
good at it. You
She
couldn't
was.
help but
She
put
was
her in the
good,
limelight.
but you know, her parents were like, hey, let's throw her on everything. And I feel bad for her co-stars though, because she was not the star of E.T., but she ended up being the star of E.T.
Oh, she made E.T.
Yeah, I thought the dog did, Jen. Remember?
Her and the dog.
Okay. What was the dog's name?
Harvey.
Harvey. There you go.
November 20th, 1982, Whitesnake released Saints and Sinners.
Yep, there's something else you people need to go listen to. Listen to that record on Spotify or wherever you get your music streaming, and listen to what Whitesnake was before David Coverdale decided, this hair metal stuff, it's selling records. I think I'll change my sound, amp the guitars up to 11, and scream way louder and higher than I've ever screamed before. It is not what you know of Whitesnake when you listen to those early Whitesnake records. Is that the one? Don't it have a?
Here I Go Again and Crying in the Rain.
Yes, Here I Go Again. I'll go for my little rant like I always do with music. Listen to that song on that album. It's not the Here I Go Again, you know, from the Whitesnake album. He redid it for that record. When he originally put it out, he goes,
Yeah, Greg has ruined this song for me.
yes, and I'll ruin it for the rest of you too. When you know that song, it's like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. On the original version of that song, when he sang it, it was like a hobo, I was born to walk alone. And this is the truth. He said that when they were going to re-record it, they told him, switch that hobo to drifter, because some people sing along and goof on it like a homo. I was born to walk alone. And he said, I never thought about that, but people goofed on me about that, so he changed it. So it's like a drifter. Drifter works better anyway. It flows better.
It does. It sounds a lot better.
Yeah, that song is
But
unlistenable.
now every time I hear it in my head, I
Like
put
a
hobo in.
Yeah. If you listen to that original, that song, it makes you wonder how many songs that are recorded out there that could be a hit if there were if like a producer or somebody just got in and said, hey, let's change this a little bit on it or something, because that song was not a hit for years. And a little other thing about that song is, which annoys me, because when I bought their Greatest Hits album in the 90s, it had the pop version of it on there, where they took out a lot of the loud guitars and put keyboards in there. There's like 5 different versions of that song. There's the original, the one you hear on the Whitesnake album, the one with keyboards all in it, a different solo in it. There's so many versions of that song. Give that album a listen and drop us a message on the Pixel Underground Facebook page on what you think.
Attention, Greg. November 20th, 1982. The best football prank of all time happened at a Harvard-Yale game. Do you know what it was, Greg?
You had to say Harvard Yale, because I was going to say somebody said a Carolina player could read, but
They all can read.
no. What was the greatest prank?
So some players from MIT had previously went on the field and installed a black weather balloon under the 40-yard line. During the game, it was supposed to inflate, but something happened and it didn't inflate. So one of the guys has to go walk and talk his way through security and get into where the electrical boxes were. And he sits there going back and forth with all the electrical boxes and everything till he finally hits the right one. And then this huge weather balloon inflates on the field during a game.
Really? Mm-hmm. There's documentation of this. It's really happened, huh? Well, what year was that?
1982.
We'll have to look up. There has to be video footage of that somewhere.
It exploded, though. They put something in it and it exploded and had talcum powder
Probably
everywhere.
the most exciting thing ever happened at a Harvard football game.
Probably.
Yeah.
The guys said that they would go in at 2 a.m. with camo paint and lookouts in the towers to install it. It took them weeks going at 2 a.m. to get it put in there the right way.
If you pulled that off now at a college football game, not only would you go to prison, people would probably kill you because you messed up betting and stuff for the games. It's such a big business now. You can't have fun with college sports anymore.
Okay, old Greg.
Yeah.
November 20th, 1984, a huge crowd gathered in Los Angeles to celebrate Michael Jackson's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
What year was that again?
1984.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That would have been right after Thriller, so he's as big as he deserved one.
Do you remember this one, Greg? November 20th, 1985, the Dynasty spinoff aired called The Colbys.
Yes, I know. I never watched it, but I know that. I know of that. Yeah.
It starred Charlton Heston. November 10th, 1985, Microsoft Windows 1.0 was released. What are we on now? Like 599?
Windows. I don't know. As long as we're not on Windows Millennium, that was a very bad version.
You needed at least 256 kilobytes of RAM and two
Oh my
floppy
God.
drives
Yeah.
to install it.
When I was taking computer programming at school, our computer teacher, did I tell this on one of the other podcasts? Maybe not, but when we had to take, I was learning how to program in an RPG programming then back then, which dead language, just like COBOL that they taught us a language then. It's like Latin. Our teacher said, "This is a dead language. Only like the military uses it anymore, but I have to teach it to you." And well, thanks a lot for teaching me something I'll never use. But our PC teacher we had this was the early 90s when really people still didn't have a lot of computers in their house. She was telling us about a hard drive or something, and she goes, "Now I hear that there's a hard drive that might be up to 100 megabytes, but that's something that you'll never have in your house or a PC because that'll take the technology and all the stuff you'll need to work that. That'll be just won't happen." And that, oh my God, that's nothing now. A song, a lossless song that you pass around is half that size now. That's crazy.
November 20th, 1986, the Pretenders released the album Get Close. And I love this next one. Huge fan. November 20th, 1987, Teen Wolf 2 premiered in theaters.
You probably like that one better than the first one, don't you?
Not better than the first one, but I
Yeah.
like them both.
Yeah, it's got Jason Bateman. I'm not going to dog it. It's not my cup of tea. This Teen Wolf is always going to be Michael J. Fox. And
Jason Bateman was not bad in this.
I saw that one maybe twice ever. That was probably enough. But Jason Bateman's good in everything, so I'm not going to dog that movie. But nothing's going to top the original.
November 20th, 1987, Flowers in the Attic, an American psychological drama, premiered.
Isn't that about somebody abusing their kid or
Yes.
something? Yes. Yeah.
4 children had lost their dad, and so they're imprisoned in the attic of their abusive grandmother's estate by their cruel mother.
We'll have to watch that with the kids. That sounds like a fun movie. Yeah.
October 20th, 1988, the single Bad Medicine by Bon Jovi reached number 1.
It's a good song. I'll give credit. I like Bon Jovi back then.
November 20th, 1989, Skid Row released their single I Remember You.
It's a great song.
It was hard for me to even say that without singing it.
And there's another one. I'll throw some music trivia out there for you if you want to. I think his name was Matt Fallon. Look up Skid Row, I Remember You, and 18 to Life demos with Skid Row's original singer. I think his name was Matt Fallon. He sang for Anthrax too. Sebastian Bach. You would have never heard of as much as I dislike Sebastian Bach now because he's kind of a jerk. You would have never heard of that band without him taking over and being their singer. He saved that band. They should have gave him songwriting credit for, even though the songs were already written, he should have got a cut because they would have never been millionaires without him. He
Yeah,
saved
his
them.
voice definitely made it.
Yeah, you listen to it, it's the same song, but you listen to this guy that doesn't have that voice and the energy, and then listen to what Sebastian Bach did. It's like, yeah, they needed him.
November 20th, 1989, Motley Crue released their single Kickstart My Heart from the album Dr. Feelgood. I know you are not a fan of this album, but I am. Do you know what the song's about?
Yeah, when Nikki Sixx overdosed on heroin, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They actually had to kickstart his heart.
Yeah. Then they sent him home and he shot up again. So he's lucky to be alive. Motley Crue, there's a band that if their plane went down 20 years ago, they'd be on Mount Rushmore. They've hung around a little bit too long. I don't want them dead, but they've hung around way too long.
And there you have Jan's Gnarly News.
Oh, gnarly!
Good news, Jan. I've got to remember too. I was looking when I originally wrote out a segment for your gnarly news thing. I spelled it news as GNEWS, and I was like, I need to keep when I write it down.
Is
or
that a
something.
spinoff from Gary Gnu?
No, just all you need is just
Does anyone remember Gary Gnu?
no. Who's Gary Canoe?
You don't remember Gary Gnu?
No.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
Okay. Well, now you got me wondering who's Gary Canoe. We got time.
No, we'll look it up and I'll show it to you.
Okay. All right. Before we get into our movie thing, though, hear this right here. That is a printout I have that I pulled up this week of all the Pizza Hut classics that are in North Carolina now, and we're gonna make a road trip sometime because these are Pizza Huts that they went and renovated and made them just like they were back in the '80s. Put the lights over the tables again, the old what do you call those, Tiffany style lights, which we have one hanging down here in the basement. I'll post a picture on the Facebook page. It's a very cool. I've saw pictures of these, and it's very cool. It's like going right back into the '80s and enjoying pizza when Pizza Hut was great. So just putting that out there. I had it in my file right here, and I saw it, and I thought, oh, I'll mention it. So anyway, yeah, we're going to make a road trip to the Pizza Hut Classic. So this brings us to our main topic, the top grossing movies of the 80s. What got us on this topic?
Just something I came up with.
Yeah. Plus, it was good that we wanted to split it into two because it's going to be hard to get all this planned out. We record on Thursday night, so it's going to be hard to record on Thanksgiving night. So we said this would be going to split into two, and because there are 12 movies, and to talk about 12 movies is going to take a bit. So the 80s that we found, we got the numbers, the box office gross numbers off of IMDb and Box Office Mojo, and I researched several other places, and they're pretty much legit. There's just, although a couple, which we'll get to, and I mentioned it, might have made a little more now because they've been re-released into the theater several times. But the numbers we'll give you on these movies are pretty legit on what they've earned gross. And we could do a whole nother segment, though, on when you hear what some of these movies have grossed in their lifetime, and you're like, that's a lot of money, but don't those Avengers movies make like $1 billion? Yeah, when you adjust some of these for inflation, they're up there with the movies today. That's how big some of these movies are, especially number one. So anyway, we'll start off with the 12th highest grossing movie of the 80s. Jan, you have that one?
Number 12, Who Framed Roger Rabbit from 1988.
One of the two movies on this list I've never seen.
It was a fantasy comedy. It combined live action and animation, which back in those days was kind of unheard of. That's what set this movie apart, because I had never seen anything like that. So you had live actors having to do parts with things that were going to be drawn in later by animators, who at the time were doing all this by hand, because back in the 80s there was no computer animation at all. So that's what made this movie huge. It starred Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd, and it was set in an alternative history Hollywood from 1947, where humans and cartoon characters coexisted. And the cartoon characters were just simply called toons. And it centers around Eddie Valiant, who is played by Bob Hoskins. He's a PI, and he has a grudge against the toons. But he used to be nice and friendly with the toons because of his brother Teddy, and they were co-workers. But Teddy gets murdered by a toon. So that made Eddie become sour toward the toons and kind of go off the wagon somewhat.
Before you get into that, though, more into that, I want to point out that when I said that Spielberg and Lucas and those people had a lot to do with these movies, Lucas, Industrial Light and Magic, did the effects for this movie. So this ties in with Lucas.
Right. Eddie has to figure out what's going on with the Maroon Cartoon Studios. So he's hired by R.K. Maroon, who's upset about his toon star Roger Rabbit and what's going on in his life, because things just aren't, acting. He's just not acting right. And he has this glamorous toon wife named Jessica. And this is the first time you really see cartoons in the public eye drawn in a sexy way.
Yeah, sultry.
Right. Sexy and sultry. So that's how you would describe his wife, Jessica.
Yeah, I remember when it came out, how big it was, and it was all over the place. I mean, you can't help but know a little bit. Even though I never seen it, I knew what it was about just because it was so big, that movie was.
It received critical acclaim for its visuals, its humor, its writing, its performances, and its combination of live action and animation. It grossed over $351 million. It was the second highest grossing film of 1988 behind Rain Man. And it put these cute little things in the story to go along with artwork and stuff. I think that's why I was drawn toward it as an
The art,
artist.
yeah.
So Jessica is performing at a club, and it's called the Ink and Paint Club. They just did little things like that throughout the movie. And Eddie, the PI, goes and secretly photographs her and Acme playing patty cake. So that's the bad thing she does in her marriage. She's caught playing patty cake. So he takes these photographs and shows them to Roger Rabbit. And Roger Rabbit's just distraught and hurt. And you find out the next morning that Acme's been murdered. So that's where the Who Framed Roger Rabbit comes into play. So they're trying to
Okay,
figure
I didn't
out,
know that.
did Roger kill Acme? You know, who killed
Yeah.
Acme? And I'm not going to tell you because, Greg, you forgot to watch the
Yeah,
movie.
I'll watch it. Did you get who directed that movie?
No.
Robert Zemeckis directed that movie, who directed 3 movies in the top 12. Big Time also directed in the 80s, Used Cars, one of my favorite comedies of all time.
We had a major quote come out of that movie that's still used to this day. I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way.
Oh,
Said by
alright.
Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah, I've seen that clip.
It starred so many other cartoon characters,
Yeah.
all in one movie. I mean, it had a cameo from Betty Boop, and she's quoted in the movie as saying, "Work's been kind of slow since cartoons went to color, but I've still got it."
Let me give you a little trivia on that, by the way. Do you know who did the voice of Betty Boop?
I do not.
What is the aunt's name in Christmas Vacation? The old lady that comes in who,
Aunt Edna?
No, in Christmas Vacation.
Oh, Christmas Vacation.
The aunt that comes in that's like 90, and they say, you say grace, and she says the Pledge of Allegiance. That's the voice.
Thing.
She's the voice of Betty Boop. So that was what she was known for.
They really did a good job, though, in this movie with the actors having to film the scenes first and, like, pretend like they're holding on to these cartoon characters and punching them and boxing them and fighting them.
Now, that's like you take it for granted because even live action movies are filmed like that now. With CGI, and you have to pretend. I've thought about that when we've been watching the Chipmunks movies with the grandkids. And Jason Lee has to act with, these chipmunks, and it's like he's not. I guess he's holding a stuffed animal, then they just take it out and post. But, how does that work? It looks real, but that's a whole different type of acting. You got to be good to pull that off.
I will tell you, Greg, you remind me a lot of Roger Rabbit.
Oh, gee, thanks.
I know you're wondering why.
One dimensional. Is that what you're trying to say? Oh.
No. It's your ability to take a bad situation and make it funny, make it lighthearted, because that was what Roger Rabbit was all about.
Some people would not call that a good characteristic of mine, but I will agree. Yeah.
Because Eddie's out there trying to do something, and he's talking to Roger Rabbit, and he says, "You crazy rabbit? I'm out here risking my neck for you, and what are you doing? Singing and dancing." And Roger says, "But I'm a toon. Toons are supposed to make people laugh. That's right. A laugh can be a powerful thing. Why, sometimes in life, it's the only weapon we have. If that's not you, Greg Cook, I don't know what is."
Yeah.
One other time, Eddie asked Roger if anybody knows that he's there. And Roger Rabbit says, "Nobody. Not a soul except, well, I didn't know where your office was, so I asked the newsboy. He didn't know, so I asked the fireman. The grocer, the butcher, the baker, they didn't know. But the liquor store guy, he knew exactly where you were." Christopher Lloyd did a turnaround from playing Doc Brown to become the maniacal Judge Doom in this movie. He was not the original person that they wanted to be Judge Doom. The original person they wanted to be Judge Doom was Tim Curry. But when Tim Curry went and read for the role, they said that he was too terrifying.
That means that Christopher Lloyd is in 3 of the top 12 highest grossing movies of the 80s.
Yes. A funny thing from this movie that not a lot of people know, Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny were the 2 most famous cartoons in the movie. And they're also the 2 biggest pop cartoon icons of the 20th century. So with the egos of Warner Brother and Walt Disney Studios, they said, our characters will get equal time in this movie. They put that on paper that they had to have equal time.
Yeah, I could see
So
that.
there's a sequence, a piano sequence, where they're kind of falling through the air with Eddie, the PI. And if you pause it at a certain spot, it looks like Bugs Bunny is flipping the bird to Mickey Mouse. Yeah, and I did do that, and it does look like it. Despite forking over all kinds of money for the rights for the fees, they weren't able to use some cartoon characters. Popeye the Sailor Man was left out, Tom and Jerry, Chip and Dale, Pee-Pee Le Pew, and Superman, because they couldn't get the rights to it. But there are so many other cartoon characters that they worked into this movie. And like I said, in 1988, there was not a single ounce of computer animation used. It was all animators, dozens and dozens of animators working to draw in the action on this movie.
Yeah, that's non-existent anymore. The newest season of King of the Hill that came out, the only complaints people had about it was they said that it looked too polished and did not fit the look of the original series. And the showrunner said, we can't help that. We tried, and we were told that doesn't exist anymore. The animation they did, and it's all computer. You're not going to send us all have people draw this anymore. Forget it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Very time consuming.
Yep. That brings us to number 11, which I have. We divide these out 6 and 6, and Jan has 5 tonight, so I get 5 of the last 6. So we picked them by ones that we had seen and knew, and
I had to be nice and give you all the Star Wars.
yeah, hey, you're giving it away. Yeah.
Like people don't know
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, I've got the ones that So number 11 was Back to the Future 2, 1989. One of the biggest sequels ever. I sort of put mine different than how Jan did, so my synopsis is different. But when I checked into mine, I was reading into when they were filming and everything. So principal photography started on February 20th, 1989 on this movie. And they shot it and Back to the Future 3 at basically the same time because they decided we're not going to get a chance to get all these people together. We know we're going to have a third one. They had an idea how these would lead into each other. So they said, we'll just film them back to back all at the same time. So Michael J. Fox was filming Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3, and Family Ties all at the same time. He was like, tired. He was wore out. He was saying that sometimes he'd be on the set of Family Ties and say something that he's supposed to say on the set of Back to the Future. He was just...
I could see that happening.
The movie was released to theaters November 22nd, 1989, the day before Thanksgiving. So that was a big time. Apparently, Memorial Day weekend or Thanksgiving Day weekend were the big times to send out movies back then because several on this list, a lot of them are Memorial Day weekend. That still is the way it is now.
Well, that's when people have most time to go to the movies.
Yeah, and all the Marvel movies are Memorial Day weekend, I think. It grossed $27.8 million that weekend and $43 million for the 5-day holiday opening, which broke the previous record set by Rocky IV in 1985. And Rocky IV is a big movie, and it broke their record. Overall, it grossed a total of $332 million. So there's a lot of stuff in that movie. Like I love that movie. Sometimes I think I like it better than the first one, and sometimes I think I like the third one better. It's like those three to me are all equal. But what I didn't realize for years after that, because I remember seeing this in the theater at Carolina Theater and they did such a good job of Claudia Wells that played Jennifer in the first movie. She couldn't come back for this movie because her mother was sick and she had to take care of her. I think her mother was dying. So they got Elizabeth Shue to take her place. I didn't know for years that was a different person. They went back and reshot the scene. All the stuff you see from the first movie with her when he comes and she walks up to him and at his new truck and all that stuff, that is reshot scene for scene, word for word from the first movie, but with Elizabeth Shue. And they dressed her and she looked so much. She really didn't look like her, but you didn't notice it then because there was no internet. You really didn't realize that was not the same person. She took her place, and they actually went in and reshot the whole ending of the first movie to put her in it, to put it in this movie because they had. But the funny thing I found out about this, which I heard about from a podcast I listened to last year when they were talking about this, they did not want this movie to be the way it came out. Like they wanted to take it a whole different angle, but because they filmed that scene at the end of Back to the Future, where Jennifer comes up to him and talks to him. And they never plan on making a sequel. So when they're walking and Doc comes back and the thing is, we got to go back. Your kids. It's not you. It's your kids. Something went wrong with your kids. That painted them into a corner where they had to make the sequel about going and fixing a problem with their kids. They didn't want to do that. But they're like, we have to. we can't make this movie because at the end
Couldn't
of the
leave
movie,
people hanging.
yeah, and I think I've heard this and I've seen it. I don't know, but I might be wrong on this. But I think it's with the home video that you get the tape and rent it of Back to the Future. That's where they put like, you know, Back to the Future will return, and it shows it wasn't on the original movie screen. They didn't even think about doing a sequel then. So that was, but it did such Back to the Future did so big we have to make a sequel. They, like I say, they filmed 2 and 3 back to back. They took all the footage, they scraped together enough footage from what they recorded so far from Back to the Future 3 and put a little like 2-minute trailer together, and it aired at the very end. If you ever watch Back to the Future 2, if you let it go, as right before the credits start rolling, there's all the stuff from Back to the Future 3 shows the Wild West, and it goes Back to the Future will return, and it goes to be concluded. And that's, you know, that was all. But that movie, it's so good. That so much stuff came out of that. I think a lot of people will even get them mixed in with the first one because that one has the hoverboards and, you know, all the futuristic stuff. I was looking up today and it was like tech that you see in the, like, they've got a Biff pays for something with cashless payment, and Doc's got a tablet, you know, and there's, when Marty goes back to his house and it's all been like slummy place now, there's a robot, a droid, walking a dog. You know, they just saw this stuff as that's the future. That's now. You know, you could die dog up to it. You could try it. They'd probably run off with it. But and the funniest thing about that as I look at it was 1985 or well when this was filmed in 89, 88. Biff is the evil guy that, you know, took the book and made all the bets and was like, but they sort of based Biff on Donald Trump back then because he was the big real estate magnate, and when you thought of, you know, the rich, powerful guy, you thought Donald Trump back then, and who would have thought he's 2-term president years later? But, you know, it's just funny to look back on it now, and there's a little goof like that. It's like, yeah, it's the future president. So, but that movie, yeah, I loved showing that to the grandkids, and still haven't shown them part 3 yet, but it's coming. We're gonna make them watch it.
Yep. Number 10 on our list, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom from 1984.
Kalima.
It was an action-adventure film directed by none other than Steven Spielberg, based on a story by George Lucas. It was the second installment of the Indiana Jones film series. It was a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I was hoping you'd say that because I didn't know. I know a lot of stuff, but I miss easy things. And I watched that movie in the 80s. Me and my best friend Eric rented it from the video store and watched it at the house and everything. I like the Indiana Jones movies. I loved them. I just never put that as a prequel. I did not know until like 2 years ago.
I'm going to tell you why it's a prequel.
Yeah. But I didn't know until like 2 years ago. Like, wait a minute, that's not the second. It's the prequel to the.
That's why I always get this and Raiders of the Lost Ark confused. Yeah. Remember, all the time I have to ask you, now which one is the one with the little boy?
Yeah, short round. Yeah.
This starred Harrison Ford, Kate Capshaw, Ke Huy Quan, and it was his debut, which is Short Round.
Who just won an Academy Award a year or two ago.
So they arrive in British India, and Indiana Jones is asked by villagers to find a mystical stone and rescue their kids from a cult that practices child slavery, black magic, and human sacrifice. So this is why this is regarded as a prequel. George Lucas did not want to feature the Nazis as the villains again. So they decided to make this film as a prequel. Because Raiders of the Lost Ark, you'll remember, they were fighting,
right, and I didn't think about
Nazis.
Now, I did know that for years when I watched it, I was always wondering, like, why is nobody from the first, Karen Allen and them from the first movie not in this movie?
Why.
Yeah.
It grossed $333.1 million. It was the highest grossing movie of 1984. It kind of got mixed reviews at first because of its strong violence and its darker elements.
Yeah, it was dark. I remember watching with Eric, and his mom, Judy, was looking at us like, what are you watching, when he pulls his heart out and puts his hand in it? Like, you know, what is this?
Plus, its portrayal of India was not on the kind side. Yeah. And that's actually why there was a new PG-13 rating that came after this, because Spielberg had produced Gremlins, which was released 2 weeks later. And so he just went ahead and said, you know, with all this controversy and people complaining, why don't we come out with a new PG-13 rating?
Yeah,
And it
I
happened.
thought for years that they ate monkey brains over in India. I didn't realize that was for the movie. You know.
It was nominated for Academy Award for Best Original Score, and it won an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects.
Yeah, which was Industrial Light and Magic.
And I
Lucas.
do remember this movie being very dark and scary with the rituals and the fires and the chants.
Kalima.
But I was not a fan of Kate Capshaw.
Shoot, no, nobody was. It was Spielberg's wife. You know, that's why she's in that movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, she ruined that. She was the one downside of that movie. The overacting, bad overacting. Never. I'm looking at my wife. I say that. I start saying, never cast your wife on your big Hollywood blockbuster. I mean,
But here you are doing a podcast with me.
Well, she's a good actress too, but just not for that movie. That was she was way too over the top for that.
But Short Round in his debut
Short Round ruled.
acting did a great job. There's one scene in the movie that is just so sweet with Short Round and Harrison Ford, where Short Round is trying to get Harrison Ford out of the trance that he's in. And he says, "Indy, I love you. Wake up. You're my best friend." And then Indy says, "I'm all right, kid," and gives him a wink. So you know he's not really in this trance.
Yeah.
But then Indy punches the bad guy.
I thought the one scene was be when he goes, "No time for love, Dr. Jones,"
That's a good one, too.
because I love that from Clerks. That's what Randolph says when he walks by. "No time for love, Dr.
Yep.
Jones." So,
Right after that same scene, it was with, Indy breaks free and he punches a guy. And then you hear the famous da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and you know it's about to get down,
Oh,
get
yeah.
real.
oh yeah.
They couldn't find the right actor to play Short Round, so they put a casting call out at a elementary school in L.A.
Yeah.
And that's how they found Short Round.
Found round.
But
when he got
actually,
when he got in trouble, he was ground round.
actually, his mom had brought his older brother in to read for the part.
Really?
And Short Round was coaching his brother, telling him how to do it. And it caught the attention of producers. So they let him try it, and the rest is history.
That guy can make a living the rest of his life just going to Comic Cons and signings. I'll do this weekend as Short Round. Next weekend I'll do my character from Goonies. That guy was on two of the biggest 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll never have to buy a meal again.
Spielberg said he just loved his personality. He said he thought he was like a 50-year-old man trapped in a 12-year-old body.
He was good.
And Quan said later that he thinks that he did so well because he had no idea who Stephen, George, or Harrison were, and he hadn't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, that was probably a good thing. Actually, it's my favorite out of all three of them. So, he was dark as it is. No, most people probably wouldn't say that, but I think I like that one more, probably because it is so dark.
Probably.
Plus, that movie might be why I'm afraid of bridges and stuff now. So.
The little hand bridges across those areas.
yeah.
Oh,
Forget
so
it.
scary. It is said that Spielberg wanted Indy's love interest, Marion, like we said, played by Karen Allen, to come back for the second film. But Lucas and Spielberg both decided that Indy's companions should change from film to film as an homage
'Cause he's
to
a
James
playboy.
Bond.
Yeah, he's like a playboy.
Yep.
Yeah. Although she comes back for the latest ones, which we'll not speak of. They're not very good.
Lucas had other ideas that were pitched and discarded. One involved an opening sequence that featured Indy being chased on a motorcycle along the Great Wall of China, but the Chinese government
Oh, yeah, they
said,
would forget
"Nope,
that, yeah."
not doing that."
Yeah.
But he did get an homage in. The opening sequence location was written as the Shanghai nightclub, which fans will recognize as Club Obi-Wan. Another nod to James Bond. The scene features Indy in a white tux.
Yeah, they put a lot of
It's
little-
cute little things that
yeah.
happen in movies that really
like
make
E.T.
'em
seeing
neat.
Yoda at the
Yeah,
Halloween night.
yeah. Yep. The movie was originally going to be called Indiana Jones and the Temple of Death, but they decided on Doom because it
A lot of stuff
softened it
that
up
George
just a little
Lucas is
bit.
involved with starts off names something and then changes later,
Yeah.
like Revenge of the Jedi, which come up later.
All of the film's locations were scouted out and found in India, but they actually weren't able to shoot there because the Indian government wouldn't give them permits to do it. And the movie was actually banned in India because
Oh,
it
yeah,
made it look
I'm
so
sure.
so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, make them like a bunch of clowns.
But they did eventually rescind that.
Well,
Number 9 on our list is Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981.
what's that about? Well, yeah. I'm shocked that. Well, we'll get to it.
It's actually a classic story of good versus evil.
Yeah.
It's an action-adventure film directed by, guess who, Steven Spielberg. And it's based on a story by George Lucas and Philip Kaufman. It's set in 1936, and it stars Harrison Ford, of course, as Indiana Jones. He's an archaeologist, but in this one, he's battling, like I said, the Nazi German forces to find the Ark of the Covenant, which is said to make armies invincible. So, of course, everybody wants this. So he teams up with his former romantic interest, Marion Ravenwood, which is played by Karen Allen, and they race to stop their rival archaeologist, Paul Freeman, from taking the Nazis to get the Ark of the Covenant and all of its power. It was nominated for several awards and won 5 Academy Awards. Photography and shooting began June 80th on a $20 million budget, concluded in September.
You wouldn't film a comedy now on $20 million budget. And they did
No.
that epic on $20 million budget. Shows you how much inflation has gone up since 40 years.
Interesting, though, that pre-release polling showed little audience interest leading up to its release on June 12, 1981. However, it still became the highest grossing film of the year, earning approximately $354 million, and it played in some theaters for over a year.
Yeah, back then, movies would, especially summer movies, you put a movie out now in 6 weeks, it's gone. Back then, they would leave movies in the theater for 6-7 months.
I can't imagine one being in there for a year.
Yeah, back then it was, though. I kind of miss that a little bit now, but I don't go see theaters a lot now. I watch stuff at home. If I did go see something in the theater, it'd be at the New State Cinema in Newton.
Something interesting I found out about this movie, that Harrison Ford was not the initial person they wanted to be the lead role.
Who was it?
Tom Selleck was considered for the lead role,
Actually,
but he had to drop out
I've
because
got
of
a
Magnum
whole-
PI.
since you brought that up and you got 2 of the Indiana Jones movies, I will say I'd looked up some stuff on that too, and I didn't write it down. So
One of the most memorable scenes in the film was, of course, the boulder chase. Everybody can remember
yeah.
the boulder chase. It was originally envisioned as a 65-foot wide boulder, but it was downscaled to 22 feet, and it was made of fiberglass.
yeah, there's a lot of cool visuals in that movie.
The Well of Souls sequence featured over 2,000 snakes, but when Spielberg saw it, he didn't feel like it was enough,
Yeah,
and he ordered 4,500 more snakes from Denmark.
that was the one thing that Indiana was afraid of, was snakes.
Why do there have to be snakes?
Yeah,
The Wall of Souls set was designed to be a pyramid dominated by 3 statues over 35 feet tall. Actors were provided with anti-venom serum to do their scenes.
yeah. That I'll just.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
I can make that rubber snake look real.
If you shake it a little bit, it looks real.
Yeah.
Harrison performed most of his own stunts, including having to run away from this boulder 10 times to get it right.
He's braver than I am. The guy still flies and stuff. Flies his own planes, crashes them, still flies. He's a man's man.
I liked one scene in the market where Indian and Marion are being chased by the bad guys through the market, and they got the little monkey running around, and Marion gets put in a basket, and the bad guys have her, and Indy goes around in this square with all the baskets trying to figure out where she's at, and a bad guy walks up, and you think they're going to fight like with swords and things like
Whips,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, whips and swords, but he just like pulls out a gun and kills
That's what I was
him.
fixing to say. That's the best scene in the whole movie. Is where he's just like, I ain't got time for this. Just shoots
Yeah,
the
he's
guy.
like, I can
Yeah.
end this real quick.
Yeah.
There's one scene that's pretty cool when the Ark of the Covenant is found. Marion and Indy are tied up, and he's saying, Marion, don't look at it. Shut your eyes. Don't look at it. No matter what happens, don't look at it. And, of course, she listened, and all these people around them didn't listen, and they're all looking at it. They're all burned up, and their souls
Their face
are...
melts.
Yeah, everything melts.
That face
and-
melting scene is one of the greatest
Oh,
scenes
it's
ever.
spooky.
Back in the day, that was like really creepy. Now, it almost looks cheesy, kind of. But back then, that was like, yeah.
But I think this movie has one of the best opening scenes of any movie ever, because it just comes on and there's no explanation of who Indy is or really what he's doing. You just see him in this temple, and he's trying to get to this platform. And once he gets to this platform, he switches this golden idol out with a bag of sand, and he just has this relieved look on his face because he's gone through all this to get to this golden idol. And you think, whew, finally it's over. And then the whole Peruvian temple starts caving in around him because he's taken this golden idol out of it. And then it doesn't end there. He narrowly escapes out of the temple, gets outside, and guess what? Guys are waiting on him out there to take the golden idol from him. And he works his way loose from these. And this is the opening scene.
Yeah.
He works his way loose from these guys, gets free, and runs to his plane, and they narrowly escape getting out of there. And all this, while all this music is playing by, this iconic composer, John Williams.
John Williams is the greatest composer. I don't hear better than Mozart and Bach.
And then you hear da 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 da.
I looked up some John Williams the other year, just looking up all the stuff he's done. And God, that guy, every movie that you can think of that's got iconic scores is John Williams.
Yeah. I mean, the scores to this movie made it.
Yeah, I'm going to do a podcast one night just on John Williams and his music, even though it wouldn't be all 80s. He did Jurassic Park. That's him. The guy did everything.
All right, and that takes us to number 8 on our list, which was Rain Man from 1988.
The second movie I've never seen on this list.
I really want you to watch Rain Man.
I'll watch it before I watch Roger Rabbit.
But I really want you to watch Roger Rabbit.
I'll watch it too, but I would rather watch Rain Man before I watch Roger Rabbit.
It was a comedy drama about wheeler dealer Charlie Bat.
I think that's why I never watched it, because I never knew it was a comedy drama. I thought it was just a drama.
No, there's some comedy thrown in there.
I didn't know that. I thought it was just a drama.
It's based on wheeler dealer Charlie Babbitt, played by Tom Cruise, who's this selfish, abrasive human. And he finds out his estranged dad has died, and he gave his multi-million-dollar estate to his other son, a son that Charlie didn't even know existed. So, and then you find out that Raymond, played by Dustin Hoffman, is autistic, and he's a savant with these exceptional math abilities, and he's living in an institution, and he's been living there for years, and Charlie never knew he existed. But then once they get together, some memories reemerge, and
wackiness ensues.
Not a whole lot of wackiness, but yeah. It grows.
I have to have at least some wackiness.
There's some wackiness.
You assure me that there's wackiness, I'll watch it. What? I see the spike on the thing right here. Okay, I'll do it again. I ought to leave this in. You know what? I'm going to leave this in. You know why she's laughing, people? Because we pause for a minute while we check something, and I have a way to mark in my editing where to go and start back, and I do it by slapping my hands right in front of the mic to leave a big spike of audio to know where to cut. And for some reason, me slapping my hands together is making her laugh. Behind the scenes, we're going to put one out one time with no editing, just so people realize how much work goes into making this awesome podcast you love. So,
all right.
So how much did that gross?
Rain Man grossed $355 million on a $25 million budget. It was the highest grossing film of 1988.
That blows me away. Out of this list, these 12, that movie is like the oddball.
It's that good.
But it's the oddball movie. It's like, hey, action, space, blah, 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 Rain Man. It's like, I understand. That's why I want to watch it. Because
I have asked you for 5 years to watch this movie.
We'll watch it this weekend. But it's so wild to see that on the list of these 12 movies and see Rain Man right there, basically almost in the middle.
Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise together in this movie are unbeatable. All right, this movie got 8 nominations at the Academy Awards. It won 4: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Hoffman, and Best Original Screenplay.
I tried to find some way to find if Industrial Light and Magic or George Lucas or somebody did something in this movie to give them credit, but no.
Nope. Not this one. This was the only one that
Yeah.
is not tied to them. So Charlie takes Raymond on a cross-country road trip, and they kind of get a better understanding of each other because, they had been estranged from each other. Charlie didn't know that Raymond existed until they go on this trip, and Raymond has this ability to remember everything. He remembers dates. So he remembers when their mother died, and he remembers singing to little baby Charlie. And he even tells him what song he sung to him. So when he starts singing it, then Charlie remembers. So then he starts remembering, hey, I was around a brother at some point in my life. But then they took him away and institutionalized him. And he didn't
He was
get
like
to get...
autistic before people really knew what autistic
Right.
was. And
This was the only film that I know of that actually talked about autism. The line, "I'm an excellent driver," became one of the movie's most memorable quotes. Some of my favorite scenes, when Tom realizes that he's actually the one that gave Rain Man his name because he doesn't remember his brother. But then when Rain Man starts telling all these dates and things that happen on these dates, it clicks something in Tom's brain, and he remembers he's the one that used to call him Rain Man because he couldn't say Raymond.
Yeah.
And he actually sang the Beatles song, "I Saw Her Standing There," when their mother died. And when he starts singing that, he's actually kind of mouthing it to Tom Cruise, and that's when it clicks in his mind that, hey, I was around you when I was a baby, and I do remember you. Because one time, Tom turns on the hot water in the bathtub, and Raymond just freaks out. And he starts saying, "Water burn baby, water burn baby." And you realize that Charlie, at some point when he was a baby, got burned by hot water. And Raymond was there to see it and remembered it. So he freaks out when hot water comes into a bathtub. There's one scene where they're leaving Walbrook, which is the institution that Rain Man has been living in. And Rain Man just walks down through there because he's so set in his ways. He has to do everything at the exact same time every day. He has to have it the exact same way. And he's walking down through there, and Charlie's making him leave to go on this road trip. He's like, definitely not supposed to leave the grounds. Definitely not going to be back in 2 hours. Definitely not supposed to leave the grounds. Definitely not going to be back in 2 hours. But he just plays this role perfectly. And they walk down this long driveway, and they get in Tom's car, which is a beautiful 1948 Buick Roadmaster with the top down. And you kind of see Dustin's look in his eye, or Rayman's look in his eye as he's looking as they're driving down the driveway. And you kind of feel sorry for him because he's been taken out of his element. But then he starts noticing the world around him and all these wonderful things going by in the car. And he gets this pleased look on his face. So that was a good scene.
Yeah, I look forward to watching that movie.
And you later find out through the movie that Rain Man has this ability to learn entire books and do math in his head in a split second. There's a scene of them ordering food in the cafe, and when the waitress walks up, Rain Man reads her badge, and he says, "Sally Dibbs, Dibbs Sally," and he recites her phone number. And she's like, "How do you know my phone number?" And Charlie says, "Yeah, how do you know this?" And he says, "You said read the telephone book last night. Dibbs Sally, 461-0192. So he had memorized the phone book all the way up to letter G. Halfway through the G's. That's how brilliant he was.
Yeah. We'll watch it this weekend, and I'll give my thoughts next week before we get into the final six
Okay.
on my thoughts if it's worthy of being a top 12 grossing movie of the 80s.
In that same cafe, the waitress drops a box of toothpicks, and Rain Man knows automatically how many toothpicks are on the floor and how many are still in the box.
I know that from Tropic Thunder.
Which ignites a thought in Charlie's mind. He realizes, hey, this guy can win me some money in Vegas. So he takes him to the casino. They win enough to dig Charlie out of all of his debts.
Can't do that now. Get you counting cards, you're out.
Yep.
Break your fingers.
And some interesting facts about this movie. When Raymond recites names from the phone book, two of the names are Marcia and William Gotson. That's Dustin Hoffman's real-life in-laws.
That's why I like when you get annoyed with me when we're watching a movie and you see me on my phone 90% of the time, I'm on IMDb looking up the trivia on that movie and seeing stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
what I'm looking up. I like knowing every little thing like that in a movie.
At the end of the movie, when Raymond and Charlie are eating pancakes, the young man sitting next to Dustin Hoffman is actually his son in real life. In the very beginning of the movie, a red sports car has MI47624 written on its windshield. The numbers 3762 spell out Cruise's birthday, 3rd of July, 1962. Pretty interesting.
Yep.
I love when movies do stuff like that. And that's why it was number 8 on our list.
Which brings us to number 7. What is it? It's your last one for the night. That I take over next week.
That brings us to number 7, Top Gun, 1986.
Yeah, good movie.
But you only watched it like one time, right?
I've seen it twice, I think. Maybe twice.
In
Yeah.
the 80s or recently?
No, I never watched that movie till in the last 10 years.
Okay. It's an action drama. It stars Tom Cruise as Maverick. He's a young naval aviator aboard the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise. Interesting trivia, they were actually on the USS Enterprise when they filmed.
Oh.
They actually used that carrier. He and his radar intercept officer, Lieutenant Nick Goose Bradshaw, played by Anthony Edwards, are given a chance to train at the U.S. Navy Fighters Weapons School called Top Gun. And other stars in the movie are Kelly McGinnis, Val Kilmer, and some other good ones.
There's a lot of people in that movie. Yeah.
The visual effects and the soundtrack were just phenomenal. It received mixed reviews from film critics. Top Gun grossed $357.4 million with a production budget of $15 million, the highest grossing domestic film of 1986, as well as the highest grossing film of 1986 worldwide.
They made some money on that movie.
The soundtrack to this movie
Yeah.
is awesome. It's one of the most popular soundtracks of any movie.
Hey, we got a soundtrack for a movie. We need somebody call up Kenny Loggins. We need a song. That's what they did in the 80s, I think.
It reached 9 times platinum certification. The film won both an Academy Award and a Golden Globe.
I'm sure for effects, what, right?
The Golden Globe was for Take My Breath Away, performed by Berlin.
Yeah, which broke that band up because most of the guys in the band did not like them going soft rock like that. I watched the bands reunited. I know a lot about Berlin. So.
One of the good scenes in this movie is when Charlie, who is Kelly McGinnis, gets spotted by Maverick in the bar. And Maverick goes over and starts singing the Righteous Brothers song, You've Lost That Love and Feeling. But Charlie plays hard to get. And at the end of the movie, things flip-flop, and Charlie plays the song for Maverick. One of the famous lines in the movie is, watch the birdie. That's when Maverick is encountered enemy planes, and he shoots him a bird. Of course, Goose takes a Polaroid of it because he likes taking Polaroids.
I don't remember that. I guess I need to watch that movie
Do
again.
you remember the famous line, I feel the need for speed?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise wasn't the first choice for this movie. Matthew Modine
Yeah, Matthew Modine.
from Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, Matthew Modine from Stranger Things.
Yes, from
Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, and Full Metal Jacket. Yeah.
He was offered the role but turned it down.
He wouldn't have been good in that. He's not an action guy. I couldn't see him doing that. That movie would have tanked with Matthew Modine.
They used real Navy pilots to make it more authentic, and they used real Navy pilots in many of the flying scenes as well, which I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't want actors flying these
Yeah.
planes. The Navy charged $1.8 million to allow filmmakers to use their aircraft carrier. And they actually used the real stuff that the
Yeah.
Navy used. The Danger Zone song almost didn't happen because Kenny Loggins' hit song was not the first choice for producers, and they wanted Toto to perform it. Could you imagine Toto singing Highway to the Danger Zone?
Maybe. I don't like that song by Kenny Loggins. It's one that's never been one of my favorites. I would like it better with Toto, actually.
The Top Gun anthem won a Grammy.
Top Gun anthem.
Mm-hmm.
What is
The
it?
anthem song, it's called the Top Gun anthem.
Oh.
It's on the soundtrack.
Okay. I didn't have that soundtrack, so I don't know.
We'll have to listen to it later.
Again, I didn't watch it till the 90s or like 10 years ago, so.
Another interesting fact, Val Kilmer didn't want to be in the film. He played Iceman.
Yeah.
but he had already signed a contract, so he had to do it. Meg Ryan's role was almost cut out. She played Goose's wife, but they kept it in. And Tom Cruise insisted on doing his own stunts, including all the motorcycle scenes.
He does in every movie. Yeah. He has a thing has to do his own stunts. He's pulled it off so far, so who am I to say he shouldn't do it?
A positive thing this movie caused to happen was that Navy recruitment was up after the movie.
Yeah, I could see that. They made it look so cool.
And sales of Ray-Ban sunglasses also spiked.
And volleyballs, probably.
This movie was inspired by a real-life Top Gun school, the Navy's fighter weapons school, and they actually took on the nickname Top Gun after the film's release. Kind of poetic.
Yeah. Good sequel to that movie. That was a very fun movie, the sequel. So I think every movie on our list in the 12 has had a sequel except for
Rayman.
Yeah, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and then number 1, which is a shocker, but I think that number 1 probably was they realized you can't top this, so just don't touch it.
Right.
Is that it for that
That's
one?
it for all.
So, yeah.
We're down to number 7.
Yeah.
So we'll pick up on number 6 on
Number
our
6
next episode.
next week. Yeah, part 2, our first 2-parter podcast. It'll drop Thanksgiving night. I think I'll set it to drop at 8 o'clock. So
or maybe we'll surprise you and drop it Thanksgiving morning.
Yeah, maybe. That way you can sit
We'll
around
pull
with
an
your families.
all-nighter Wednesday night.
You can let it play at your house while everyone's enjoying Thanksgiving dinner and listen to the hits of the 80s on the
You can
Pixel
eat
People
turkey
pod.
and listen to 2 turkeys.
Yes. I like that. So do it. Share this, like this, and spread it with your friends. We want to get rich and famous off this.
Shine on.
The Pixel People Pod. Zap inside. Rewind the future fraud. The Pixel People Pod.
Nachher